Over 50, 4 glute exercises are better than squats. It might be surprising to learn that an exercise widely regarded as a cornerstone for building strong glutes could actually be contributing to weakness in bodies over the age of 50. For many years, the advice has been consistent. To achieve powerful hips, strong legs, and a firm backside, squats were considered the indispensable exercise. And to be clear, squats do have their merits. They are not inherently detrimental or without purpose. This discussion is certainly not intended to place blame on any particular method or individual. However, an important and often overlooked question arises. Are the squat variations typically performed by individuals over 50 still truly serving their bodies as effectively as believed? Consider the significant data available concerning physical well-being as we age. For instance, reputable health organizations indicate that falls represent a leading cause of injury-related fatalities in adults above a certain age threshold. Furthermore, medical research from well-known institutions highlights that aging joints naturally experience a reduction in shock absorption and a decreased tolerance for compressive loads, particularly impacting the knees, hips, and lower back. Intriguingly, numerous studies published in specialized journals for orthopedic and sports physical therapy have identified hip instability, rather than mere leg strength, as one of the most powerful predictors of balance issues and persistent lower back discomfort in older adults. This particular insight deserves careful consideration for a moment. The primary concern isn't necessarily a general lack of strength, nor is it about a perceived absence of effort. The critical factor is instability. What is often not fully explained is this. Many common squat variations, especially those frequently done at home without professional guidance, are highly effective at engaging the largest gluteal muscle, often referred to as the gluteus maximus. While this is beneficial for power, these exercises frequently overlook a far more crucial muscle for those over 50, the gluteus medius. This vital muscle plays a key role in maintaining a level pelvis, ensuring hip stability, and keeping the body upright and aligned during everyday movements such as walking, turning, or standing on one leg. When this muscle loses its strength or activation, the body doesn't simply cease to function correctly. Instead, it begins to compensate, finding alternative, less efficient pathways to perform movements. This compensatory pattern often leads to increased strain on other parts of the body. The lower back is forced to work harder than intended, the knees endure greater stress, and one's balance progressively, almost imperceptibly, deteriorates. Eventually, symptoms may emerge that seem to appear without warning: persistent hip pain during walks, a lower back that tires remarkably quickly, or the sensation that climbing stairs has become an unusually heavy task. The typical response to these changes is often to attribute them to the inevitable process of aging. But what if that assumption is incorrect? What if these issues aren't solely a consequence of advancing age, but rather a reflection of the specific muscles you've been actively training, and perhaps more importantly, the critical muscles you've inadvertently been neglecting? This conversation is not intended to incite fear or to suggest that one should cease physical activity altogether. On the contrary, its purpose is far more profound: to ensure that the exercises chosen today actively contribute to protecting one's independence and quality of life in the future. Because once you reach and pass the age of 50, strength transcends the simple measure of how much weight can be lifted. It transforms into a measure of how effectively one can maintain balance, how competently the hips can stabilize the spine, and how confidently one can navigate daily life free from pain or the apprehension of falling. The uncomfortable truth for many is that a significant number of generalized exercise routines, including regimens focused solely on endless squats, were never conceived with the unique realities of an aging nervous system, aging joints, or an aging balance system in mind. These routines were fundamentally designed for younger, more resilient bodies, not necessarily for yours as it matures. This realization doesn't imply that your body is damaged or beyond repair. It simply means your body is signaling a need for a more intelligent, tailored strategy for movement and strengthening. Many active adults over 50 are far from lazy. They make a conscious effort to stay active. They walk regularly, engage in various physical activities, and some even incorporate squats into their routines. The reason for this adherence to squats is often rooted in widely circulated advice from various sources: health professionals, fitness publications, and well-meaning instructors, all advocating squats as essential for robust glutes, improved posture, and healthy aging. While these recommendations aren't entirely inaccurate, they also don't present the complete picture. A crucial element often overlooked in these standard routines is the profound physiological transformation your body undergoes after the age of 50. The prevailing belief that squats represent the safest and most efficacious method for developing gluteal muscles at any age needs careful re-evaluation. What if this very conviction is subtly undermining your body's stability rather than enhancing it? What if the standard exercise recommendations fail to adequately support your aging joints, your evolving nervous system, and the crucial deep stabilizer muscles that are more critical than ever? What is rarely explained in depth is that squats primarily activate the gluteus maximus, the large powerful muscle responsible for the shape and propulsive force of the buttocks. However, they frequently do not adequately stimulate the gluteus medius, a smaller, deeper muscle positioned on the side of the hip, which is responsible for maintaining a level pelvis and providing essential protection for your spine. The pivotal question then becomes, which of these muscles holds greater importance after the age of 50? It is not the large power-generating muscle, but rather the smaller, smarter muscle, the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius is instrumental in controlling your side-to-side balance, dictating how level your pelvis remains during walking and influencing whether you experience unsteadiness when navigating stairs or uneven terrain. A common misconception is that merely staying active and continuously moving will suffice to maintain physical well-being. However, the reality is that movement performed without proper muscle activation often devolves into mere repetition. And such repetition, when lacking the foundational support of balanced muscle engagement, inevitably leads to compensatory movements and, over time, potentially to injury. Academic research supports this. For instance, a study published in a prominent journal focusing on orthopedic and sports physical therapy identified a direct correlation between weakness in the gluteus medius and a significant increase in the risk of lower back pain and hip instability, even among individuals who consistently engage in regular exercise. Further investigation, as highlighted in a review in a specialized journal focusing on gait and posture, reveals that conventional squats can underactivate the gluteus medius by as much as 50% when compared to specific low-impact targeted side leg movements. This disparity underscores a critical issue in one-size-fits-all exercise approaches. When such routines are followed without appropriate modification for an aging body, a predictable sequence of events unfolds. The body begins to excessively rely on its larger, more superficial muscles. Meanwhile, deep stabilizing muscles, such as the gluteus medius, become less active or shut down. Consequently, the joints, rather than the muscles, bear an increased burden of stress and impact. This imbalance often manifests as persistent stiffness, soreness, and an overarching sense of fatigue, even when diligently adhering to an exercise regimen. Over time, this cumulative stress and lack of proper muscular support lead to a noticeable decline in one's physical confidence. The most concerning aspect is that these internal imbalances often remain outwardly invisible until a significant problem, such as an injury or fall, occurs. This isn't to say that squats must be completely abandoned forever. The key takeaway is the imperative to integrate specific movements that actively retrain and reactivate your stabilizing muscles, rather than exclusively focusing on building the larger, more powerful muscle groups. This strategic approach is why the following section will introduce 4 alternative exercises that are demonstrably more beneficial than squats for individuals over 50. Their superiority isn't derived from being more strenuous, but rather from being intelligently designed. They precisely target and activate the muscles that are most crucial for maintaining stability and independence. They demonstrate respect for the natural limits of aging joints, and they are uniquely capable of cultivating the stability and confidence that squats alone simply cannot provide. The first of these targeted movements is the side-lying hip abduction. Many might instinctively question its efficacy, thinking, simply lying on my side and lifting my leg? That can't possibly offer the same benefits as a squat, can it? This reaction is understandable, as squats evoke a strong sense of effort and accomplishment. You feel the exertion in your thighs, your heart rate elevates, and there's a tangible sensation of having completed a challenging workout. However, there's a profound, often overlooked truth. The sheer level of effort does not always equate to true effectiveness, especially as one navigates through their 50s, 60s, and beyond. In this stage of life, the most critical muscle in the lower body may not require additional heavy lifting. It may simply need to be reawakened and consciously activated. When performing a squat, the body predominantly utilizes the gluteus maximus, a powerful muscle that aids in actions such as rising from a seated position, ascending stairs, or lifting heavy objects. Yet, there exists another gluteal muscle with a distinctly different, yet equally vital function, the gluteus medius. This muscle is situated on the lateral aspect of the hip. Its fundamental roles include maintaining a level pelvis during ambulation, providing essential stability for the hips when standing on a single leg, and preventing excessive compensation from the lower back and knees. A primary reason this crucial muscle often becomes underactive is that it is rarely directly and intentionally trained. While squats might incidentally engage it to some minimal extent, this precise side-lying movement specifically and purposefully activates the gluteus medius. Empirical evidence supports the efficacy of this seemingly simple exercise. A study published in a geriatric physical therapy journal demonstrated compelling results. Adults over 55 who incorporated this specific movement into their routine just 3 times a week experienced notable improvements. After merely 6 weeks, participants exhibited a 28% enhancement in single leg balance and a 22% increase in walking stability scores. Crucially, they also reported a significant reduction in complaints of lower back fatigue, all without engaging in any weightlifting. The implications of an underperforming gluteus medius are significant. The pelvis can begin to tilt laterally during walking, the knees may collapse inward under load, and the lower back is compelled to overcompensate, leading to strain. Over time, each step can feel progressively less secure. The smarter and safer approach involves a precise execution of this movement. Begin by lying on your side. Bend your bottom leg slightly to provide a stable base of support. Extend your top leg straight, positioning it slightly in front of your torso. Now, here is a critical detail for optimal activation. Point your toes downward towards the floor. This specific foot orientation initiates internal rotation at the hip, then slowly and deliberately lift the extended leg sideways. The focus is not on achieving a high lift, but rather on executing a controlled movement, devoid of bouncing or rushing. Precision and purpose are paramount. This seemingly simple exercise accomplishes what squats often miss. It directly targets the muscle vital for maintaining an upright posture and stable gait, all without placing undue stress or a compensatory burden on your knees or spine. Next, we consider the posterior hip abduction. A valid question might immediately arise. Didn't we just perform a similar exercise? Why is a second version necessary? This is an excellent inquiry. At first glance, the posterior hip abduction may appear almost identical to the previous movement, lying on your side and lifting your leg. However, there is a critical distinction, a subtle yet profound difference that fundamentally alters the exercise's impact. It lies in the angle of your leg relative to your body and the direction your foot is oriented. This minor adjustment strategically trains your hips to withstand and control an entirely different category of force, one that grows significantly in importance as the body ages. The moment you position your moving leg slightly behind your torso and rotate your foot so that your toes point upwards towards the ceiling, your body naturally adopts a pattern known as external rotation. This specific alignment actively engages a deeper segment of your gluteus medius muscle. These particular muscle fibers are primarily responsible for governing hip stability during movements that involve backward motion or twisting. Crucially, they play a preventive role against rotation-based falls, which can occur when one slips sideways or executes a rapid turn. Conventional squats typically do not adequately train this specific muscle action. Even regular walking, while beneficial, doesn't address this rotational control. Furthermore, a majority of exercise machines found in gyms frequently neglect this critical angle of movement, yet these rotational forces are an inherent part of daily life. Consider common everyday scenarios: stepping off an uneven curb, pivoting on one foot to change direction, or turning your body to retrieve an object from behind you. Each of these actions involves rotational or off-balance moments. This specific movement pattern, the posterior hip abduction with external rotation, systematically prepares your body to confidently navigate such situations. Supporting this, a study published in a clinical biomechanics journal demonstrated significant improvements in older adults who incorporated posterior hip abduction into their rehabilitation protocols. Participants observed a remarkable 37% enhancement in rotational hip control, experienced a notable reduction in lateral sway during walking, and showed an improved capacity to recover from unexpected shifts in balance. These beneficial gains were sustained even after a 12-week period. When this particular range of motion and muscle activation is not adequately trained, several negative consequences can unfold within the body. The hips may lose their inherent rotational power, the knees might begin to collapse inward, and the spine could twist in an attempt to compensate for the instability. Simple, seemingly innocuous movements, such as turning to fasten a seatbelt, can inadvertently become fraught with risk. The essence of this problem is not a deficit of raw strength, but rather a loss of precise control. Unfortunately, many individuals experience this decline without ever recognizing how to properly address it. To execute this movement correctly, assume the same side-lying position as before. This time, however, move your top leg so it is slightly behind the line of your body. Now rotate your toes upwards towards the ceiling. This action actively opens the hip into external rotation. Gently lift the leg slowly, just a few inches, then lower it back down with deliberate control. Throughout the exercise, maintain a steady upper body. The objective is to feel the activation in your gluteal muscles, not your lower back. You are not merely lifting a leg, you are actively re-educating your brain and muscles to protect your hips from the types of movements that frequently catch people off guard and lead to instability. Next, we introduce the standing hip drop and abduction. A common and understandable belief among active adults over 50 is that daily walking sufficiently addresses their balance needs. And indeed, walking is an excellent activity. It's generally safe, rhythmic, and widely accessible. However, it presents a significant limitation. Walking primarily moves the body in a forward direction. True, comprehensive balance requires intricate control and stability in every direction, and critically, this includes side-to-side movements. It is precisely in these lateral movements where falls most frequently occur. To better understand this, envision your pelvis as a stable platform. Every time one foot is lifted off the ground, the gluteus medius muscle on the opposite side of the body is immediately tasked with maintaining that platform's level position. If this muscle fails to adequately perform its function, a cascade of events can ensue. The pelvis can tilt or drop. The spine may deviate from its neutral alignment, the knee can collapse inward, and an unsettling sensation of wobbliness results. This chain reaction, while often subtle, is remarkably prevalent in aging adults. Many popular exercises such as traditional squats, lunges, or leg presses do not effectively challenge this crucial lateral stabilization system. In stark contrast, the standing hip drop movement is specifically designed to do just that. Supporting its efficacy, a 2018 study published in a leading sports medicine journal found that targeted hip drop drills significantly improved pelvic symmetry, enhanced proprioception, the body's internal sense of its position and movement in space, and boosted single leg stability in adults over 55. These improvements are not merely athletic performance markers. They are fundamental indicators of everyday functional ability. They directly influence whether one can safely navigate a curb, effortlessly put on pants while standing, or execute a quick turn without losing footing. When the gluteus medius lacks the capacity to effectively stabilize side-to-side movements, the hips drift out of proper alignment, the knees inwardly compensate, overall balance suffers significantly, and, perhaps most importantly, a pervasive fear of movement begins to develop. Over time, this apprehension often leads to avoidance of certain activities. Avoidance, in turn, fosters increased muscular weakness, which can ultimately culminate in a greater reliance on others for daily tasks. However, this trajectory is not inevitable. The process of rebuilding lateral control can begin with small, deliberate steps. Start by standing near a sturdy support, such as a wall or countertop, for security. Shift your body weight entirely onto one leg, allowing the opposite leg to hover slightly forward, with its toes turned slightly inward. Now, deliberately swing the lifted leg out to the side. As you do this, intentionally permit your hip on the standing side to drop slightly. Then consciously engage the gluteal muscles on that standing side to actively pull the hip back up to a level position. This subtle, precise motion generates tension on both sides of the body, the leg that is moving and the leg that is providing stabilization. It is crucial not to rush this movement. Allow your gluteal muscles to perform the work with control and focus. This exercise is not merely a leg movement. It sends a powerful, reassuring message to your brain. I've got this. I can regain my stability and stand tall once more. Finally, we arrive at the standing hip extension with external rotation. Again, the simplicity of the movement might prompt a query. So I'm just swinging my leg behind me? How can this possibly be more beneficial than a squat? Let's acknowledge the reality. This exercise appears deceptively simple. You stand, one leg extends backward, perhaps with a slight turn. It doesn't generate intense sensation or appear physically demanding. Yet the scientific evidence reveals a profound truth. This particular movement closely mimics the very ways in which your body frequently loses balance in real-life situations. Crucially, it systematically retrains your body to effectively recover from such moments of instability. A majority of exercises, including conventional squats, are typically performed in a linear plane, involving strictly up and down movements. However, the real world is inherently dynamic and rotational. We constantly perform actions like reaching behind us, twisting our torsos to look over a shoulder, pivoting to retrieve an item from a car, or turning in a bustling kitchen. These everyday movements demand the simultaneous activation of your gluteus medius and deep rotator muscles, in conjunction with your core, lower back, and entire spine. If these complex muscle groups are not adequately trained to work in concert, it is precisely in these rotational scenarios that one is most likely to lose footing and fall. A study published in a journal dedicated to gait and posture provided compelling evidence. Older adults who consistently practiced hip extension with external rotation demonstrated remarkable improvements. They enhanced their reaction time to instability by an impressive 36%, exhibited greater activation in their spinal stabilizing muscles, and showed a significant reduction in asymmetry of pelvic alignment over an 8-week period. These benefits were achieved not through heavy weightlifting, but through controlled, purposeful movement performed in the correct direction. When your body lacks the ability to control both hip extension and rotation simultaneously, you become particularly vulnerable during backward steps or twisting motions. Your balance silently falters, not from a generalized lack of strength, but from a deficit in pattern recognition and coordinated muscle response. Consider common scenarios where this deficit becomes evident: backing out of a driveway, swiftly turning to catch a falling object, or reaching into the back seat of a vehicle. These are precisely the moments when many individuals trip, twist, and experience falls even if they have been diligently exercising. To perform this exercise correctly, stand sideways near a wall or countertop for support. Shift your body weight onto one leg. Move your other leg slightly behind your body, and as you gently swing it further back, actively rotate your toes outward. Allow your upper body to rotate slightly in the same direction. This creates a controlled, integrated tension that extends from your gluteal muscles across your hip and through your spine. The focus should be on short, precise, and stable movements rather than large, dramatic, or rapid motions. The goal is to train control under rotation, not merely movement under load. True strength encompasses the ability to move with unwavering confidence, even when the unpredictable circumstances of daily life threaten to throw you off balance. Let's take a moment to reflect on this comprehensive understanding. It's highly probable that you have always strived to do your best. You've attempted squats, maintained an active lifestyle, and adhered to advice that suggested pushing harder was the path to strong aging. But what if the strength you sought wasn't absent, but rather was simply being misdirected or inefficiently applied? What if the underlying issue wasn't a personal failing, but instead originated from exercise routines that were never appropriately adapted for the unique body you inhabit today? This brings us to a crucial yet often unstated truth. After the age of 50, genuine strength transcends the mere capacity to lift heavier objects. It transforms into the art of re-establishing a clear and robust connection between your brain and your body. It becomes about systematically retraining the smaller, yet incredibly vital, stabilizing muscles that act as your primary defense against falls. It's about meticulously rebuilding your confidence in movements that once felt entirely automatic and effortless. It's about proactively reclaiming a profound sense of independence, an independence that doesn't manifest in flashy gym selfies, but becomes evident in your ability to confidently ascend stairs, navigate uneven sidewalks without trepidation, or bend down to pick something up from the floor without the lurking fear of instability. The empowering news is that achieving this renewed strength and stability doesn't necessitate access to a fully equipped gym. You don't need expensive or specialized equipment, nor do you require perfect health to begin. All that is truly needed is the correct starting point, a strategic and intelligent approach. These 4 specific exercises, while they may not appear flashy or intensely strenuous, are profoundly honest in their approach. They meet your body precisely where it is in its current state, and over a consistent period, they serve as a powerful reminder to your nervous system, your muscles, and ultimately your own sense of self-confidence that you are still far more capable and resilient than you might currently perceive. The intention behind sharing this knowledge is not to instill fear, but rather to empower you with informed choices. So, make the commitment to begin right where you are today, even if that means simply lying on the floor and gently lifting one leg. Even if the movement feels remarkably small or insignificant, especially if it feels small. Because what might appear as a minor effort today has the potential to become the very foundation that ensures you continue to move upright, independently, and vibrantly tomorrow. And in the not-so-distant future, your future self, the one still walking, living fully, and laughing freely, will undoubtedly look back with deep gratitude and say, "Thank you for taking that first step."